Bring that one there we go. Just that. I just want to go back to the actual Zoom so we can see each other. Why is that not showing on that? Bring that one. Oh, there we go. Okay.
We're good.
Just that. Yes.
I think we can still hear and you're probably see this is me. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna get started. Sure. Hello, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Committee of Adjustments meeting for June 9th.
I just want to go back to the actual
2026.
Zoom so we can see each other. Why is that not showing on that? Bring that one. Oh, there we go. Okay.
We're good.
Just that. Yes.
I think we can still hear and you're probably see this is me. Yeah, I mean the TV. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna get started. Hello, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustments meeting for June 9th.
I just want to go back to the actual
2026.
Zoom so we can see each other. Why is that not showing on that? Bring that one. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now it's a multiple.
We're good.
Yes.
I think we can still hear and you're probably see this is me. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna get started. Hello, good evening, everyone.
That will work. Well done, Jane.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start over for continuity. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Committee of Adjustments meeting for June 9th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Dan. That this meeting be opened at 6:02 p.m. All in favor? It is carried. We are going to do an overview of updated Committee of Adjustments terms of reference. Am I turning this over to you for a high level?
Yeah, I mean, some terms of reference were produced in draft format and they were passed by council previously. And essentially, what we've done here is because with the planning and advisory committee as it was, we go down to just 2 members of the public. And one of those had to declare a conflict regarding matters of the official plan. So we therefore transferred the powers and responsibilities to the Committee of Adjustment. And hence, I believe.
Just coming in.
It's just coming in. And so there's no matters tonight regarding the official plan, hence Cam is able to attend. Yeah, so I think we'll go over the terms of reference in more detail at a later meeting, but really it's just general protocols around how you handle meetings, and if you just need to familiarize Cam or anybody else with that, then it's your choice.
Perfect. So we we opened the meeting, explained how the Committee of Adjustments came to be. And for those who are tuning into this Committee of Adjustment meeting, it's made up of members of council as well as 2 outstanding public members, Cameron Brusky and Eric Foisey, who Eric unfortunately can't be here. So we're happy to have them and happy to move forward with some of the important matters. So I will look for a mover or seconder to adopt the agenda, please. Moved by Donna. Seconded by Mary, thank you. That the agenda presented to the planning and to the Committee of Adjustments dated June 9th, 2026 be adopted as prepared. All in favor? That's carried. And I look for a mover and a second for the adoption of the previous minutes. Moved by Dan. Seconded by Donna. That the minutes of the Committee of Adjustments of October 14th, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Questions or comments on that? All in favor? It's carried. Any disclosures of the pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Moving into applications, we have proposed technical amendment application reference B6 2026 for Woods. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so basically this application it's already been approved in similar form, and that was approved by council. First of all, planning advisory committee, this former capacity, undertaking consent applications, and then by council itself on the 14th of April. So what happened is after that approval was issued, the notice of decision then had conditions attached to it. The applicant proceeded to engage a surveyor. The surveyor looked at the property as a whole and figured that some of the mapping that we'd used for the basis of that application was off compared to what they've seen on their more professional kind of reference planning systems. So in that sense, the applicant came back to us and was seeking a technical amendment, which was really just, it did affect a couple of the property sizes, but really was the alignment that was the key difference in this. So the principles, everything that was written up previously, all of the policies still apply. Nothing really changed in that sense. The report here summarizes what the difference is here. It was an oversight. The applicant had signed off on that as a sketch. And usually, I mean, they're not always 100% accurate because that's why it's a sketch and then it comes through in the survey. But we felt that it was a little bit different compared to what was being proposed previously. So that's why we felt the need to do a technical amendment. Under the Planning Act, we were not required to do a full reconsultation with neighbouring property owners. But one property owner and his wife were consulted on the application, and no comments and were received in relation to that. So there was a 2-week comment period provided for that. So basically what is being proposed here through the amendment, it's a table shown on page 2 of the report. And this indicates that the severed lots, both lot 1 and 2, would have the same frontage as proposed originally of 90 meters. The retained lands, because the applicant was saying that they should be off South Shore Road rather than Development Road, which this is the frontage, the board being proposed previously, so that was flipped in a sense. So the frontage for that became 487 meters. So the depth for proposed lot 1 and lot 2 vary slightly. It's not a perfect rectangle. It just slightly goes off as the lot boundary line. So that's why one of them is 188 meters deep and one is about 186.5 meters. I say they are slightly still subject to change, subject to a final survey, but there's a greater degree of accuracy, let's say, with this as it stands right now. And that would mean that proposed severed lot 1 would be 4.4 acres or 1.78 hectares. And proposed severed lot 2 would be 4.2 acres or 1.7 hectares. And the retained lands would be 23.8 acres or 9.63 hectares. So the report here kind of explains really just the amendments, the original report, which were attached to this edited report, if you like. And there's a sketch shown on that which shows what the new proposed dimensions of each of the lots would be. And the conditions are the same as applied. There was just another amendment that had to be made to condition number 11 because previously it referred to the perimeter of the property fronting onto South Shore, onto North Star Drive, but instead it fronts onto South Shore Road. So that's what it was there.
Okay, thank you very much. I will look for a mover and seconder, and then I'll read the motion. We can move to questions and comments if we need to have. Moved by Donna, seconded by Steve. That the Committee of Adjustments recommends to Council that the proposed technical amendment to consent application reference B6 2026 Woods, which proposes a severance to create 2 new lots on lands legally described as Bonfield on 6B Part Lot 5 RP 36 R11219 Part or ET Part 1 Parcel 5205 NIT be approved with conditions as set out in the as set out standard to the previous motion that we dealt with this. So questions or comments? Okay, right. Yes, none. All in favor? That is carried. Number 6, which is staff reports of the Ontario Association of Consent Authorities Conference in 2026 overview. Take it away, Simon.
Yeah, so happy to share really an update of a conference that I attended last month in Ottawa. It's the Ontario Association of Consent Authorities. And it was well attended by all different rural, urban municipalities from across the province. And it's a really great opportunity for people to come together and discuss the many changes that we've all been seeing over the last couple of years with the amendments to legislation, regulations provincially, and how that's being applied in practice. And then there was a number of different sessions as well related to best practices, how to have a committee of adjustment, issues to do with minor variances, and some of the case law that applies to different circumstances so that there's a bit more clarity. And I think that helps us if anybody has any specific questions on this. We won't go into too much detail today, but like we can give an overview if you wish. But essentially, it was a great opportunity to network with peers, to learn lots more about what's happening right now in planning in Ontario. And yeah, that'll encourage any questions.
Great.
Did they, I think with this, the new administration of the province and with the mandate to build, I mean, the changes are coming fast and furious.
Yeah.
So just the mechanism to try to keep up, I think it's good that they did this so that you can actually form your network to make sure that you're not missing anything.
Absolutely.
So the changes are just so fast.
Yeah, there was lots of representatives from the private sector there as well to kind of give those different perspectives so that it's all balanced overall, because we're all responding to these changes that are coming forward, which increasingly rapid it seems, but.
Any other questions? I'll look for a mover and seconder. Moved by Dan, seconded by. Yeah. That the Committee of Adjustments receives this report as a summary of planning and development related information gained through the participation in the Ontario Association of Consent Authorities annual conference in 2026. All in favor? That's carried. Staff professional training and development updates.
Yeah, with this, I figured because this is the first time we've met as a newly refreshed committee of adjustment, it was good. And we were talking about the Ontario Association of Consent Authorities anyway. It was a good opportunity to kind of update you about professional development. In this sense, myself, just some of the things that have transpired over the last year and a half. So I did complete a primer on planning course, as it's referred to, which covers a series of different key topics, such as the statutory framework for land use planning in Ontario, details about official plans, the approval processes, zoning bylaws, the nature and purpose of site plan controls, minor variances, legal non-conforming uses, subdivision applications, and powers, procedures related to consent authorities, as council is, but in some instances, committee of the adjustments are the consent authority. So that was a really interesting foundation, if you like, to do that. And then to top that up, I also did a municipal law program course, specifically on planning law. So that provided me with a solid overview of the legislative and policy framework for land use planning in Ontario, the types and interests in land that municipal staff should investigate, the purposes of zoning, land division, etc. And tie-ins to other pieces of legislation as well. So the Building Code Act, and kind of that interrelationship there, which my colleague Mike and I, we go back and forth between each other's offices, often on files, and you see where there's those points of crossover. And so it's always good to kind of get that structure and framework really to guide the work that you do. So I just wanted to share that's something I've been working away at.
There would be other acts too, right? So
Yeah.
how the North Bay Meadow Conservation Authority, because if you look at the lands that we have agricultural lands, we have rural, we have lakefront, so, and they're all treated very differently.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, to cover the Conservation Authorities Act, which has been subject to change in itself, but yeah, the Municipal Act, Open Development Charges Act, it went into a broad range of different ones. And so, each of the assignments and the final exams that you had to do was, you know, by this way, but had to kind of cross-reference between the different elements and,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not as straightforward as, you know, people think that it might be. And the rules are in place for a reason, right? So.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that one? Okay. Thank you for those updates. We are moving on to committee of adjustment member training, so there's training opportunities available to committee of adjustments, so I'm gonna let you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So basically the same organization, the OACA, has available on it, and because I signed up as a member, I have access to that portal. But there's additional costs, so we could do, and speaking with our CAO, we didn't feel it was something that we do with this term of council, but this would be a great opportunity for the next term to give everybody a refresher. And really just it covers different topics along the way, from an overview of planning, all about consents, minor variances, how to handle a site visit, meeting protocols, and issues to do with conflict of interest. So if we were at some stage to choose to do a group-based training, that would be $310. We'd all do that together. We could build that into a session, or people could do it individually in their own time and just have a broader discussion around that on one of the committee of adjustments. But if people, on the other hand, wanted to do it individually, you can, for $67, do this training available for anybody that feels they might need it and wants to understand more about how a committee of adjustment works and what we do.
I can tell you, this would have been fantastic 3 years ago when
Yeah,
when
yeah.
trying to find what way is up. But Marion's done
Yeah.
this for years and years and years. I'm trying to, my eyes were this big trying to figure it out when I first started. It was crazy. So training like this, I think, will be very good for the next term of council. I feel like it might not be worth it for this term of council, that investment, but whether it be the committee of adjustments, which will include council, if it goes back to the planning advisory committee, we should also make sure that council, whatever makeup that might look like, also receives this training the next council term, because I think it's gonna be valuable to get a bit of a head start and even understanding some of the language and what it means. And if you have somebody on the committee that's been there for 30 years, that's way ahead of you, it's you're not quite as lost. So
Well, you make a great point, because I mean, sometimes the narrative out there at large is that, you know, we're making up these rules and regulations, but we are, as often as being said, creatures of the province. So we are required to, you know, implement a lot of this stuff. So sure, there's ways that you can kind of massage that, fine tune a little bit, but end of the day, we have processes and procedures that we follow.
Well, and I think too that, you know, council is supposed to be wearing many hats. Like, I'm supposed to now understand everything about consents and minor variances, as I'm supposed to understand road treatment and gravel and, you know, so there's.
multi-million-dollar budgeting.
Yes, and so there's all of these, so this is fantastic because it gives you a nice, maybe we could get a roads course, that would be cool.
Sure.
You know, give you the fundamentals and, you know, all the other hats that you have to wear when you're on council, so that's good. I don't know, would this be helpful for you? You probably know all of this, so.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know enough, no.
Yeah, so the training would be helpful.
Selective training, yeah. I just wanna, ask, is the planning advisory committee, like if the new term starts in October, are we looking at taking it, the planning advisory committee back, bringing it back, or is it gonna be continuing in this form?
Yeah, I think the conversation was we would leave that up to the next council, whatever that looks like. We didn't want to nail down one way or the other, but yeah. I don't really, the next council will determine how they want their committee structures to look like, as they would in every term, so. That, which is why I said what I said, which is if it's back to the planning advisory, which doesn't have all members of council, we should make sure members of council are also included in that training, only the fact that after recommendation comes from the planning advisory committee,
You don't wanna-
council needs to understand it too,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
Absolutely,
Any other questions or comments?
not from me.
Okay. Correspondence, do we already talk about training courses offered by OAC?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Sorry, I'm up here. There is no other business?
Nope.
My goodness, we're at the adjournment. I love it. I'll look for a mover and a second.
I'm sure moving tonight.
Donna, seconded by Dan. That this meeting be adjourned at 6:20 PM. All in favor? That is carried. Thanks,
We
everybody.
got out of the first meeting about 15 minutes.
Yeah, we have a meeting at 5 and then we have a meeting at 7.
Nice, I
Yeah.
know that one, yeah.
Yeah, we're just sitting around.
Are you staying for the summer?
No.
No. Cause you have a life, oh, fair enough, yeah.
I had a pipe burst. I was
No.
come here an hour ago and I was changing the valve on a toilet, we have a rental and it burped, my wife left. And so I'm standing holding this thing and I'm pointing it and I hit the flange, I'm on the phone, I said, you need to come back. I can't